Google just put, I think what, $75 million in the company behind movies like Everything All at Once. I think that's the movie, Michelle's
Hmm.
show. And then the Backrooms, of course, which is a huge sensational hit at the moment. 75 million invested, and people are losing their minds about it because they're
Yeah.
thinking, you know, a company that is known for a studio that's known for great creative output is now going to be using AI models, and it's going to be all crap. Even going so far as A24's founder or CEO or somebody at the lead there said, if I could press a button tomorrow and make all of AI go away, I would do it. And
And I got to
push
respond to
comes
that.
to shove.
I think it's
Yeah.
bullshit, and I think those people are fucking. They can go fuck themselves, frankly. I think like that's the reality. Like this is technology. What is the point? Like, and I have a very specific example. Actually, I am a bit of a. I'm not like a film buff per se, but I do like my movies. And like, and when it goes to the history of movies, for example, Tron that was released in what was it like the late '80s, early '90s, and when that came out, it was earth shattering graphics and technology. But at that point, also what we saw was when the Oscars came out, they wouldn't allow Tron to basically like be nominated because they're like, oh, like you guys use computers in this, so that doesn't count, blah blah blah. And but then, like, what, 20 years later, like, you know, we literally have categories for best digital, like, graphics or whatever the hell at the Oscars. And that every single movie that you've probably seen in the past 10, 20 years has used computer graphics in some form or another. So to me, like, you know, and I think it's also our viewpoint of Myosin and our whole networking community, or at least the people I want to work with, is like, at the end of the day, like, you either adopt this thing or you get left behind. And from a creative point of view, I think it can unlock some really incredible things. And while certainly I wouldn't say like I'm a huge fan of Google, I also recognize the movie business is very challenging. A24 has done pretty well for itself as an independent powerhouse. But again, movie business is hard. But my point is like, and if you think about it, like Toy Story, that was earth shattering in there when it was in 1999 that it came out. That was a completely new category. And look at you, Toy Story 5 is coming out, right? Like, and it changed the world in many ways in terms of computer graphics, what you can do. So to me, I'm more excited than anything of like, it's just another tool. And people who get all upset about it, I have nothing for you. I'm just like, go fuck yourself. Like, it may not be great now, but it's only going to get better. Pardon my French, by the way, but it's only going to get better. And the point is, if you're a real creative, you should be learning how to use this technology to unlock faster, better, more interesting types of creatives that you couldn't do. Just like we're seeing with vibe coding or vibe marketing, like vibe creation, right? But like art is the synthesis of, you know, all types of ideas. So the more rapidly we can create more interesting things with a lot less effort, I think is, to me at least, a really awesome thing. So, and I'm sure that A24, like they invest in some weird shit all the time. Like I'm sure they will hopefully like use this and create some really interesting movies in the years to come that, you know, the big studios can't because they
Yeah.
just, you know, or they're a producer, not a studio, but you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, others wouldn't be willing to take that risk. So we'll see.
I mean, I also agree with Blake largely. I think the one thing that concerns me a bit with all the AI creative, like I love that I can just do things now, right? I use like Higgsfield or Fell and you know the 3D or the custom 3D elements or animations that I couldn't possibly have done myself. I can do now. And I know Sidance has been incredible with like more human sort of the full scenes you can generate, and
Mhm.
I just love all to have all of this, you know, creativity at my fingertips because I'm a very visual person. And obviously right now it can be done at a much lower cost than it used to, but what I don't love, and that's maybe like a bit communist, but it all goes into Higgsfield and it all goes to Fell and
Mm.
it all goes to this
Mm.
people, right? It like before, sure, it was expensive, but it was more democratization of like talent and, you know, artistic taste and everything. Now I think art direction is the only kind of valuable skill that you have to build and have to level up. But essentially, like everything comes down to who you're paying for credits for, and you know, rich people gotta be rich.
Yeah, no, with this specific investment, so the couple of things that they've said with it, which again goes back to my, you know, skeptical mindset towards it. And I think we've seen the story before. OpenAI and Disney also partnered a while
And that
ago,
didn't work out though, because
and that didn't
Disney
work out.
pulled
Exactly.
out. Yeah.
So, like, it's interesting to see like what comes out of it, especially when like Google has said, okay, there's not going to be any like scraping or like data access from A24 towards DeepMind. They've also
Mhm.
said that this is keeping in mind that we want to think about it as an AI assisted, storyboarding or whatever tools you're using, not as a replacement for human beings. And they've also said that it's a direct like equity play. A24 is currently valued at 3.
On that,
So
I have to flag that's bullshit. Like we know
yeah,
humans will be replaced, but that's a whole other
exact.
existential
Yeah, and this thing
cancel on
happened
that.
at Disney, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
bunch of people who made movies like Endgame were let go, and there was a whole,
yeah.
backlash around it.
Also overreaction though. I think we'll see as and we've talked about it, right? Is
Yeah.
like there's so many examples. It's the hype cycle, right? There's so many people who are like, we don't need people anymore. We're gonna replace them with AI. And then they're like, wait, like this token cost is really expensive. And on top of that, like you get rid of all these people and you're like, well, somebody has to manage all these agents. Somebody has to still do all this work, even though you have agents. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was depressing with the Endgame thing. I'm sure they're starting to hire some people back because there's too
yeah.
much is a course correction, right? But sorry, back to you, Arnav. Interrupt.
No, I think some of it is just appeasing investors. That's it.
Yeah.
You need to get through a quarter. The CFO, the financial team says, "Oh, lay off, X amount of people, and then we'll rehire them 3 months later."
Hmm.
When we have a good quarter. So yeah, no, it makes sense.